The Your Safe Space podcast is recorded on Wurundjeri land. This podcast acknowledges the traditional owners and custodians of the land. Always was, always will be Aboriginal land. Welcome to Your Safe Space, the podcast. I'm your host, Adele Marie, and this podcast is here for you. It is a safe space for us to catch up each week to discuss anything and everything. And on today's show, we are also doing something a little bit different. It is part 2 of 30 things before 30, or 30 lessons before 30. Happy Friday, everyone. I hope your week has been amazing. You're probably wondering, Adele, what have you done with the AMA? Well, I've just mixed things up. The AMA will come out on Sunday. This episode is here today. I wanted to give you part 1 and part 2 right after each other. And I'm also going rogue because today is a special day, and I'll explain why. It is episode number 50 of Your Safe Space. What the hell? Guys, I can't believe it. When I started this podcast, I don't know what I thought. Did I think I would get to 50 episodes? No. I thought no one would listen to this podcast and I would do one episode and I'd never do it again. And boy, oh boy, has it turned out completely different. I'm so grateful to each and every one of you. Thank you for being part of this community. Thank you for supporting me, for supporting this podcast, for downloading this podcast. I think as it stands, we've had almost 500,000 downloads of the show since launching. We launched in August last year of 2022. And it is an honor to come and give you these episodes each week. I'm so grateful that you choose to come and share your Fridays and Sundays with me. And I'm just so grateful that you guys make it possible. This podcast, I've said it from day one, does not exist without you. It is made for you. It has been made with your help. And it is a celebration for us both today. So thank you. Now, we are going to get into this episode. As I said, the AMA will drop on Sunday, and yeah, let's jump right into the show. So if you haven't listened to this, go back, listen to part 1, because that has 1 to 15. We're starting with lesson 16 today. Lesson 16 is happiness comes from within. And guys, this is facts. Stop trying to fill your voids in your life with things. No amount of material shit or external things is going to fill the void. You need to do the work. You need to do the work from the inside out. And it's not buying things to make you feel better. It's not buying friends, buying things to, soothe yourself. Stop relying on external things to make you feel good all the time. And if you do the work, that can come from within. I saw this so heavily in my 20s. At the start, it was trying to fit in with that party scene, trying to party to fill a void. Then I was doing fucking powerlifting to fill a void. And then I threw myself into my corporate career to fill a void. And my life became a lot better when I realized all the other stuff, yes, is amazing, but it needs to come from within first. And I already have what I need and the tools that I need now to do that. Yes, it does take time to learn those tools. Yes, it does take time to learn how to choose yourself instead of choosing other things when you want to choose the other things. But everything that you need is already within. Everything else is just the icing on the cake. You are the cake. Lesson number 17. Mistakes are part of being human. I have made many mistakes in my lifetime, and I'm probably going to make a lot more. I'm going to fuck up. You're going to fuck up. We're going to hurt people. We're going to make poor decisions. They are part of life and part of being human. I'm never going to sit here and tell you that I'm perfect and I've never made a mistake and that I'll never make another one. That's just not truthful or realistic. I try to look at my mistakes as lessons and opportunities to grow. Yes, they are part of being human, but yes, they also allow me to do better the next time. Mistakes don't mean that we have to beat ourselves up and treat ourselves like shit because we did something bad. They don't define us. They don't make us the worst humans in the world. It just makes us humans. And I know there are some mistakes that are probably super grave on like one side of the spectrum. I'm not talking about that shit. I'm talking about the other mistakes that are, yes, bad when you're looking at it. But in the grand scheme of things, over the course of your life, they're going to be tiny little blimps along it. And they don't define us. I'm not sitting here saying it's a free pass also to then go and make more mistakes or treat people badly. I'm just saying it's an important part of life, and learning that and accepting that and learning how to use self-compassion to navigate that will help you move forward. Without mistakes, we wouldn't be learning anything. Without mistakes, we wouldn't know what fucking matters to us. How do we know that we're fucked up when we've made a mistake? Because we realize we've hurt somebody or lost something or missed out on something. And so mistakes are there for a lesson. This is also heavily tied to perfectionism, which I am linking in this lesson, number 17. I was a very big perfectionist, and I will do another episode on perfectionism because there's a lot to unpack there. But perfectionism causes us to have very unrealistic goals, very unrealistic standards, and it helps you over-focus on your mistakes. It stops us from recognizing our strengths. It stops us from celebrating our wins. I know that it's okay to hold yourself to a standard, but the only standard you should hold yourself to is just doing your best. And whatever that looks like, and knowing that your best may look different every single day, depending on what's going on. Lesson 18, live your life for yourself and not others. I did ask you guys for some feedback for this episode, and I will get to that in a second. This came up so much, and I'm glad that all of us are on the same page with this lesson. You are the only one who has to rest your head on your pillow at night and live with the decisions that you are making. Life is far too short to not do the things that you want to do. It is putting your needs first. It is honoring your authentic self. It is living by your values, and it is living in alignment, making those decisions based on what you really want instead of what everybody else wants. It's less energy on what everyone is thinking about you and more energy on how you feel about you. It also goes for not caring what people think. And I think I didn't put that in as a lesson. I don't think I did. If I accidentally get to it and I'm repeating myself, we can just cut it out. But in my early 20s, I was so consumed over what people thought of me. I wanted people to like me. No, you guys, the older you get, the less you care. But again, putting yourself first and not caring what people think will help you live in that authenticity. Lesson number 19 is tell the people that you love them. And this comes from a moment in my 20s. I was 24, and this moment altered my brain chemistry forever. And I've spoken about it a few times. You may have heard about it. My uncle, bless him, Uncle Mark, rest in peace. He passed away in 2017, and he had motor neuron disease. I would love to actually do an episode on that in the future. But motor neuron disease is, if you don't know, a disease which slowly kills or destroys all the muscles and cells in your body. And what often happens, depending on what type of MND you have, you slowly lose function of your body. Your brain stays in full capacity. It doesn't impact your brain. It just impacts everything else. So you lose the ability to walk. You lose the ability to eat. And sometimes you lose the ability to speak. Now, with my uncle, his speech was one of the first things to go. And we cared for him a little bit. We lived next door for him while he was unwell. Seeing him not be able to communicate with us destroyed me. And going through that just showed me that if you have something to say, say it. If you love the people in your life, tell them. It is such a blessing to be able to talk, to be able to communicate, to be able to say what we want to say. And seeing that, as I said, really changed something in me. And now I don't shy away from speaking my mind. I don't shy away from speaking my truth. I don't shy away from telling people I love them or how much they mean. We never know what's around the corner. And words can be powerful, so use them while you have them. Lesson number 20. Getting a dog is the best decision you'll ever make. But think about it first, okay? Because getting a dog is a lot of work, guys. I'm not going to be irresponsible and tell you, go and get a dog because that'll solve all your problems in your 20s. It definitely solves some problems, but it's a lot of work. And I feel like not many people talk about the puppy stage. Not many people talk about how hard it is to raise a dog, especially on your own. And when I look back at my 20s, Franklin is by far the best decision that I ever made, but he's also the hardest. And I can't take you guys back to that moment when I brought him home and I had no fucking idea what I was doing. I did a bit of research. I knew what I was getting myself into, but I didn't really know what I was getting myself into. It was really hard, but he changed my life for the better and has gone on to become my bestest little friend, my furry little friend. I lived alone in Sydney when I got him, and so he came into my life at a very low point in my life. I was feeling very lonely, very homesick, and instead of going to therapy, I got a dog. Do I recommend that? No. But what I want to say is if you are considering it, do your research. Make sure that you can invest in things like puppy school. You're learning how to crate train them or learning how to train them in general, making sure that you have pet insurance, making sure that you can be a responsible dog owner. As I said, it does change your life for the better. And if any of you got a little soul dog in your 20s, you will know exactly what I'm talking about. But make that decision with a lot of caution. Lesson 21 is please use sunscreen. Yeah, I'm going there. This lesson is pretty self-explanatory, but if you don't know, in 2022, melanoma was the third most commonly diagnosed cancer in Australia. Guys, wear your sunscreen. Get your skin checked and look after yourself. The only tan that you should be getting is from a can. And I used to have a very unhealthy relationship with being tanned and the sun. And I'll give you guys that context. In my late teens, very early 20s, I worked part-time at a solarium. This was actually before they were banned. They're banned because of how dangerous they are, and they probably should have been banned a lot earlier. But I worked at this solarium and I used to do spray tans as well because they had the solis and then they had the spray tans. And my boss had given us a key and she basically said, come in whenever you want. Okay, telling 19-year-old Adele that, who was obsessed with tanning and had no idea how tan she looked, was a very dangerous thing because I went to the solarium almost every single day. And I look back at that time in my life and I cringe because I think to myself, have I put myself at risk potentially of getting skin cancer one day? Maybe. And that's why to this day, obviously, I'm a lot more careful. I wear 50 plus. I always have sunscreen on. I always stay in the shade. It's hard because I do go to the beach. It's also hard because I am half Greek and half Italian. And naturally, if I'm in the sun for 5 seconds, I start to tan anyway. But I will never advocate for tanning. I will never advocate for sitting out in the sun, roasting yourself with tanning oil. It's 50 plus or nothing. It's staying out of the sun and not just sitting in it, just raw dogging the sun. Guys, be responsible about it. It is not worth it. And there are so many great fake tans now that don't smell, that don't make it look obvious that it's a fake tan and that you can still achieve that glow if that's something that you want. It's always better to get it from a can than get it from the sun. Lesson 22. Family is deeply layered and deeply complicated. And you aren't going to be the one to solve all the family issues, so protect your peace. I think I spoke about this in some of the Christmas episodes that I did, because that was something that was coming up for a lot of us, that panic around Christmas time or events where you have all your family together, people are bickering, people are not talking to each other, people are ignoring each other. Family is hard, guys. Family is complex. Family often have years of built up conflict and drama and pain and mismanagement of emotions that will play out in the day-to-day or play out at those events. I know you want to fix it. I kind of want to fix it too, but not everyone is always going to get along, and sometimes it's not possible to fix it. It's also okay for family to not get along, and I know in some circumstances, and I've even said it before, I know my immediate family dynamic, mum, dad, Carla, I know that we obviously give that, not perception, oh yeah, it is perception that everything is good and well, and it is in our immediate family dynamic, but if you looked at our extended family, there's a lot of stuff going on, guys. It's not my dirty laundry to air, and I will never air that on this podcast, but there are lots of things that you don't see, and I wanted to just normalize that. If you have a difficult family life, that is okay. Family is not always going to get along. Just because you are blood related doesn't mean you are always going to get along. On the other extreme, when you have seriously toxic, seriously, unhealthy patterns and behaviors with your family, no matter how related to you they are, it is also okay to distance yourself from them. It is also okay to protect yourself, to protect your peace. And Just because there is blood does not mean you need to tolerate certain behaviors. Lesson 23 is health is wealth. And I spoke about this a little bit in the Getting Older episode, but this is looking after every aspect of your health, your physical health, your mental health, your emotional health, your spiritual health. It is really making sure that you are doing what you can to age well. It's moving your body in a way that feels good for you, not for punishment just because you want to. It is making peace with your body and eating the foods that you want to eat, obviously all in moderation. It is making sure you get enough sleep, making sure you drink enough water. It is going to therapy. It is talking about what you are feeling. It is going to the doctor when you aren't feeling well. Also, if I haven't had a blood test by the time this episode comes out, I give you guys full permission to yell at me. But my 20s were spent at war with myself and my body, especially my early 20s. I don't know if it was age or learning. I think it's probably a mix of things. Age, getting older, and just learning new ways to treat myself and better ways to treat myself. But I have been able to enjoy life so much more coming into my 30s. Just like going to therapy was the best thing I did. And I did speak about this last week, but you can have all of the amazing things, all of the pretty, shiny, materialistic things, all the money in the world. You can have a nice car, you can have a nice house, but if you're not healthy enough to actually enjoy it, all of those things are priceless. Lesson number 24, the guy you're crying over is not your soulmate. The guy or girl that's making you cry is probably not your soulmate, guys. I've cried and used many tears on people that probably didn't deserve it in my 20s. And I look back now and I think probably wasn't worth it. Not saying that crying is bad. Let out your emotions if you want to cry. But your person wouldn't be leaving you in tears every fucking day if they were your person. You deserve better. And just quickly on soulmates, you can have more than one, and they can be more than romantic. They can be platonic, or they can even be your pet as well. Lesson number 25, a late night Macca's run is always a good idea. This kind of goes on to that food is just food. Become neutral to food. I love Macca's. You guys will see it. For people listening that don't know what Macca's is, I'm calling it Macca's because I'm Aussie. It's McDonald's. That's what we call it here in Australia. But again, in moderation, balance. Sometimes I do eat it a little bit more frequently than what I should, but I'm not hurting anybody. It makes me happy. I'm going to live my life. Cheeseburgers also do make your life better. Lesson number 26 is let kindness be the currency. And this is kindness to yourself, but also kindness to others, because the world is a very small place, guys. You never know when you may cross paths with somebody. And I'm talking about social circles. I'm talking about work, especially if you are going to stay in the same industry for the rest of your career. People will always remember how you treated them. People will always remember how you made them feel. Treat people with kindness and compassion and empathy. And make sure you are doing that to yourself as well. And I think this is one of the things I learned in therapy, but I wasn't a very compassionate person to myself. I had more compassion for others, and I even had more kindness and compassion to like my dog than I had to myself. And I remember at the start of therapy, my psychologist used to get me to write down any of the time that I had like negative self-talk. And what I noticed by doing that awareness activity is that I was speaking to Franklin more nicely than what I was speaking to myself. I would come home from work and tell him, oh, I love you. I miss you. You're the best. Like, I hope you live forever. Like, just all these sweet words and affirmations. And then I would be talking to myself like a fucking asshole. Guys, start with yourself, because if you're very similar to me in that aspect, once you start doing that internally, it starts to trickle out in other areas of your life and it will just do good things for you. Lesson number 27 is always take your makeup off after a night out. And I think I've got a pretty good track record from this, but I don't go out too much now where I'm getting home at God knows what time and feeling like I shouldn't do it. But I always used to do it, and catch me still doing my skincare routine if I go out now and I have a late night. There is no way I'm getting into bed onto my beautiful sheets with my crusty ass makeup from the night out. Guys, still do your skincare routine. Lesson number 29. Kind of spoke about this a little bit before, but drink more water and invest in a Yeti. Now, embarrassing because I don't actually have my Yeti here. I had to buy this because I forgot about it. I'm showing a Mountain Franklin bottle on the camera. But Guys, not sponsored by Yeti, but seriously, having an emotional support water bottle will do wonders for you. So quickly, take a sip right now. I'm taking a sip as well because this is the second podcast. Derek's taking a sip of water too. Everyone have some water. I don't know why it's so easy to forget to drink water. Honestly, it's one of my worst habits and the reason I hadn't gone to get the blood test yet. But drink more of it, guys. Your health will thank you for it. Having an emotional support water bottle will help you too, and it'll just make you feel better. Lesson number 29. I will be forever trying to figure it out. And as I said at the start of part 1, these lessons and things are specific to me. They're specific to my life. They're specific to my experiences. And just because it works for me or these lessons are valuable to me doesn't mean that they may work for you. And you know what? Sometimes they may not even work for me again. And that's okay. It's okay to be figuring it out at 25. It's okay to be figuring it out at 35, at 45, at 55, at 65. The truth is we are all figuring it out as we go, and no one really has any idea. Lesson number 30 is it's not that serious. And I wanted to end on these last two because when I think about times in my past or in my 20s where I thought, fuck, this is really like my world is ending, what I wish I asked myself is, will this matter in 10 years from now? Will this matter in 5 years from now? Because most of the time, what we are so worried about ends up resolving. And with hindsight, it's a beautiful thing. Hindsight, we don't have it in the moment when we're going through these hardships. But hindsight, you can look back and see that it wasn't that serious and it was okay. And we're here for a short time, hopefully a long time. Just try and enjoy it while we can. Now, I did ask you guys for some of your lessons. And I'm just going to read out a few. I think I've got maybe like 10 or 12. And these were submitted when I did the aging or getting older episode. And I love them so much, so I want to share them. Here they are. Put yourself first always. Everything happens for a reason, even if it sucks at the time. Everyone is running their own race. Stop comparing. Hell yes. Stop rushing. You are right on time. Exactly. Don't tell people too much. They might use it against you, gossip, or be competitive with you. Keep your circle small. What's that saying? Quality over quantity. I stand by that. There is no expiry date on making changes. Exactly. You can make a change in your life whenever. Listen to your gut instinct. Some things happen and you can't control it. It is what it is. I swear that's a coping mechanism for me. Sometimes I'm like, fuck, it is what it is. Like, I can't control anything here. I just got to roll with the punches. Cut your toxic friends off. And I'll say, you can also cut your toxic family off. This one was cute. Mum and dad were right. Don't wish your life away. Very true. And if you listen to my aging episode, I used to do that. And if you are a young listener of Your Safe Space, enjoy it. Do not wish it away. Enjoy where you are right now. Don't be in such a hurry to grow up. And lastly, life is too short. Don't settle with people, with friends, or with your job. Guys, please come into the Facebook group. I want you to share any more life lessons that you think are important. I know there's going to be so many that I missed, and that's okay. I want to hear from you guys. The Facebook group is Your Safe Space podcast community. And that kind of brings us to the end of this show. I will be back in your ears on Sunday, and I'm doing a whole mix up. So Sunday's episode will be an Ask Me Anything. And then the week after, we'll go back to normal programming where we'll have the AMA on the Friday and then a deeper dive on the Sunday. But thank you for joining me. If you aren't already, come join us on Facebook. Join us on Instagram. My Instagram is at Adele Marie. The podcast Instagram is at Your Safe Space Pod. I actually look after both of them. It's me on both, so come follow us. And if you like this episode, tell someone about it, share it on your story, give me a rating on Spotify, a review on Apple, and have a great weekend. Be safe, and I'll see you on Sunday. Bye, guys.